لله رب العالمين صلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. This is the second night with our class in the Fiqh Islamiyya, loosely translated and known as Islamic Jurisprudence. And this class again to teach and to lay out how things should be dealt with in the religion, especially when it comes to terminology. Especially when it comes to people have more than one view about a particular issue in the religion or a particular text. Especially when it comes to those who are considered laymen versus those who are considered in the class of some type of scholarship, whether it be at the lower level, the middle level, the higher level, those that have achieved some level of Islamic studies, formally or informally, and that they are in the category to deal with the text. So this class is very important, and inshallah ta'ala tonight we will take some issues from past sessions that we had that needs to be explained. Past sessions, different seminars, different khutbah, different topics that everybody could relate to and benefit, inshallah ta'ala. And although we're going to talk in general, it may apply to some certain situations. It may have taken place in this particular country or this city or this town, this village. May have taken place in this masjid, this family, this relationship. So the idea is to understand these issues, and as they say, if the shoe fits, then wear it not. So inshallah ta'ala wa billahi tawfiq. The last issue that I think I dealt with that needs to be re-explained because people want more benefit, and it's in line again with Islamic fiqh, how to understand, has to do with the issue of the salah, the 5 daily prayer. It also has to do with what the scholars say on multiple levels regarding salah in congregation. And if the meaning prayer, salah in congregation is restricted to meaning only in the masjid, or does it mean outside of the masjid? Dealing with the issue of what is the ruling for the salah in jama'ah, salah in congregation, salah in the masjid versus salah outside of the masjid. Also dealing with the issue of how to handle what we loosely call difference of opinion. And here, opinion doesn't mean always from someone's own intellect and experience and logic, but also opinion means what he views, what he sees from the text of Islam. We don't call that opinion in English, but they translate this word broadly into opinions. It's called ra'i, what you see. Also, what you see doesn't mean just with the eyes, it means with your intellect, with your mind, with your knowledge, what you understand. So they translate that as opinion, and it makes it look like everybody and his mama can deal with the issue because everything is based on opinions. And no, some things are based upon evidence from Quran, Sunnah, and the consensus of the companions, and then, of course, the consensus, if we can say there's a consensus, ijma, in the issue of scholarship. Also, there's a type of dalil that they call aqali, something that the intellect proves, and no one can go against that proof of the intellect. And so these are all issues that play into what's called Islamic jurisprudence, what's called Islamic fiqh. So these are some of the issues that are very important to understand when we talk about discussing, reading, studying these issues. These issues considered Islamic jurist or fiqh. There's different levels also to this field, Islamic jurisprudence, Islamic fiqh, Islamiyah. At the high level, and those people, or they are called al-ulama'u. Al-ulama'u ala wazn fu'ala'u. That means they have abundance of actions. And those actions are known, descriptions of those people. So take al-fu'ala'u and transmit the letters and change it to al-ulama'u. Then this means those people have abundance of knowledge, and they're known by that knowledge. That's the highest level when we talk about jurisprudence. They actually are the people that would be in the courts if they were law judges, if they were hukama, those who make rulings. They are those people at the top of the chart. Then you have those that are in the middle. They're in the middle, and they are not at the top, but they're in the middle with regards to that scholarship, that ability. Then you have those that are at the bottom, and they are those that naqala min ahl al-ilm. They carry the message from those who are in the middle and those on the top. So a person like me, for example, I'm not in the middle, I'm not on the top when it comes to Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh Islamic. And I'm not from the ulama'u, ala wazn fu'ala'u. They have the most knowledge, and they are known by that knowledge. It's like the actions that go with that, they're known by those actions. And I'm not in the middle. When we say in the middle, we mean they're scholars, but they're in the middle. Because you have tabaqat, you have that which is a'la, then you have that which is adana aswaya, khalil basit, and you have that which is asfali min hada, that which is below that. Just like we know in the school system, we have top grade, you have like H honor roll, and you have A. Sometimes they go as far as saying A plus and minus, but you have an A and you have a B, and sometimes they go as far as to say B plus and minus. These are the levels. These are the levels. So when you talk about somebody that maybe he's qada'u, he works as a judge, the woman hukama is from those that's actually working in the judicial area. Then you have those that may not be working as a judge. ولكن هو من أهل ما له من أهل الفتاوى هو أهلا يفتي في مسائل. He has the knowledge, and he has the not only the knowledge but the trust and the credentials to give fatwa, question and answers, and that question and answer is going to be based upon the Islamic revelation. there's some type of way that he doesn't understand what text will support the issue, because you have to understand this is one of the miracles of the Quran and the Sunnah, that it's for all times, for all times. Meaning no time can make it obsolete. It will always be applicable. But the minds of the people are different. The minds of the people are different, from scholars to laymen. So one person may look at this eye and see it to be a resource, see it to be a tool, see it to be a evidence, a supporting factor for this issue that he's talking about. While another scholar on the top level, or the ma'u, then he may look at the same ayah, the same text, and not see it to be a source, not see it to be something that's a tool or a evidence for that same issue that the other scholar sees it to be, because of the mind. And then there's a lot of nuances to how to look at evidence, what makes it a qualifying evidence, because there's something called istidlal sahih or istidlal ghayr sahih, using the evidence for something that is proper and suitable and using it out of context when it's not in fact suitable. These are in the books. They wrote all of these different qawaid, different principles, and they have explained them, all of the scholars of the past and the present. So this is an example of why you have tabaqat, again, levels of scholars and people of knowledge. And at the top, again, ulama, that person has the most action and knowledge that a person can reach. And then you have that one which is kabir and that which is saghir, that which is major, minor. So there's levels. And then the middle, again, those people may give fatwa. You may be scholarly to give question answers based on Quran and Sunnah. And if there's some issue that he himself does not see, this is a proof, that's a proof, then he's going to have to decide how to solve that issue by his other tools of the knowledge, the other ayah, the other ahadith, the similarities, circumstances, and people, and different nuances of the religion, then he can come up with a solution. That's called an ijtihad. An ijtihad, when there's not an apparent text. Because again, there can be a text, but you don't see it to be a support text. There can be an evidence, but you don't understand it to be an evidence. But you have to do something. You have to solve the problem. So that person is going to, in the academic world, they would say educated guess. But here we don't say it's a guess. That person is yujahidu wa istikhraj al-shay min al-shay. He's going to try and come up with an effort where he can pull something and deduce something from something else to say, this is what you do, here's the answer. There's no direct proof, but this is the indirect proof. This is a similarity, or this is what I understand that will suit this need, but it may not be directly tied to it. That's called ijtihad. So these are just some of the terms and expressions when we talk about fiqh of Islamiyah. And that one, again, he's in the middle. He's not on the level where he's going to be qada, like a judge. You know, he's not going to be at that top level, but he's in the middle. Then there's those who are not in the middle, where he's going to use those tools, and he's at the top, and he's going to use those tools. Tools meaning from the Quranic knowledge, the various knowledge of the Quran. Because in order to extract, in order to come up with a principle, you have to know all there is to know about ayat of the Quran. When it was revealed, how many times it appears in the Quran, the different ways that the ayat may have a different word that has a different meaning. If the ayat is something that is general, or is it specific? If the ayat has been abrogated by something else or not? Is it istithna, something, the exception to the rule, I don't know the word aslun, or is it foundational? Is it general with a general meaning, or is it general with a particular meaning? Is it particular with a particular meaning, or is it particular with a general meaning, and so forth? It's a lot of things you have to know before you can even begin to do the operation. You have to know all of these tools. So the one on the bottom, he has enough knowledge. She has enough knowledge to go into the books, and they have said they're not self-taught. It's another thing I have to highlight when we say fiqh al-Islamiyya. This is not a self-taught subject or endeavor. You just get a book. I'm educated. I'm smart. I'm not stupid. I can read. I understand. I use a dictionary. I know the language. I'm grammarian. No. You have to drink from the fountain. You have to take from the knowledge of those who have the knowledge. Talaqi an al-shuyukh was narrated from the shuyukh. I was saying, well, man, I'm not dumb. Like, why I gotta go sit with somebody? Because anybody can write something in the book. And even if the book, the person wrote the knowledge down and the knowledge is accurate, the book can't tell you how you understand. But if you're with somebody, you're learning. You're with the Shaikh. And the Shaikh teaches something. He teaches a point. He's going to, number one, ask the students, my home, is it understood? That's his job. Now ask, is it clear? Allah Azza wa Jal command prophets and messengers to begin the nas, to make clear to the people. So the one who's teaching, after he makes his point, you have to say, wadih, and in Arabic that means it's clear. Mafhum is that understood. They might say, nah means certainly shit. They might say, tayyib. And Sadiq, when I ask Sadiq, then they might ask him, what I just mentioned, or what is the hadith, or who is the narrator, if he was talking about hadith and the narrator. Or he might say, okay, ma hukmu, what is the ruling for that? He just went over that, but he has to ask you. Why? So you could say, like this. That's what the prophet said the people will say in the grave when they're not sure. Stuff like that. Like we say, prophet said, ha, sami'tu nash yaquluna shay'an faqultu. They won't know the answers in the grave to who is your Lord. They won't know, and that's not because they didn't know in this life. Their heart won't be able to say it because their heart was negligent of that fact. The heart was not able to speak it in this life. And even if they read the books, they can regurgitate it to me and you. They can play the part. I can say it fluently. If I didn't really practice that, if I had some outwardly displaying of that, but inwardly I didn't really feel it, I didn't practice what I preach. When you die, you go in that grave, and the two angels come to you and they ask you, Man Rabbuk, who is your Lord? You won't be able to freely, like you can say, now Allah. You can freely say, if you were not Muslim, I say, who is your Lord? You can say, Allah. Without believing, you could just keep that puppet. But the one who really believes it in his heart, when he dies, the heart is going to be able to, in the grave, say that. It's going to make that person have the ability only to say what's in the heart at that time. So we talk about the issue of a person making clear these issues
That's why Allah told the Prophet messengers make these issues clear. So the shuyukh, the Prophet said, al-ulama'u, the scholars, warathatul anbiya'i, they are the inheritors of the prophets and messengers. La yarithu minhum dinarun wala dirhamin. They don't inherit from the prophets money, monetary gain. ولكن يرث العلم. يرث ماذا؟ What? العلم. What they take that the prophets left behind is knowledge. From that knowledge the scholars gained, that knowledge came from prophets, is to ask when they're teaching, mafhum, is that understood? Wadih, is that clear? Because they have to know. They have to know. So that last level, or we should say if you're from the bottom going up, first level, those people naqal an ahlil ilmi. They narrate from what the scholars say. But they're people that should have learned with the people of knowledge. Now they can go into the books based on their studyship with those scholars and the books that they have covered. Because it's not just you sit with a scholar, you sit in the class, and then you just go get books. No, those books, most of the time, you should have covered with those scholars. It gives you the ability to go into other books because you have the knowledge in that area, so you're not limited to just the books you studied with that scholar. For example, we did what we're talking about, fiqh al-Islamiyya. We did Islamic jurisprudence. And we went over certain books, like we went over Taysir A'lam, Shaikh, fi Shaikh Umdat Ahkam. We went over that book in Yemen. We went over that book, Shaykh Abdullah Bassam. We went over that book. That's a book, inshallah, we're going to use for this course. But we also studied other books of jurisprudence, like Bulugh al-Maram, Ibn Hajar Asqalani. That's a book of jurisprudence. Now, we also studied Barakallahu Fikum Mada Riyad al-Salihin. Imam al-Nawawi, that's the kitab, Mada Jurisprudence, the book of jurisprudence, and the hadith side. Now, we studied those books. Also we studied al-Warqat. Naam, fiqh, big book to teach you the rules of fiqh. We studied al-ilm al-usuli min ilm al-usul by Imam Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen. These are books of fiqh. But it doesn't restrict us to just those books. However, if the books are above your head, because again we're talking about level, 0, middle, and high, then you stop. You stop. You don't go beyond what you have achieved. Now, so this, we talk about the issue of Islamic jurisprudence, Islamiyya. Then again, this is a very important subject matter, and it's very broad. As they say, tabahaw, it's like an ocean. You'll never drink it all. But, mashallah, very important. It's part, the main part of the deen. As the Prophet mentioned this term in the hadith of Muawiyah ibn al-Hakam, where the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the Bukhari Muslim said, "Man yuridillahi bihi khayra, man yuridillahu bihi khayra, yufaqahu fi din." Now, whoever Allah wants and intends for that person good, then Allah will give him fiqh, yufaqahu fi din. Yufaqahu fi din. Now, it will give him the fiqh of the deen. So here, fiqh in the hadith, Prophet mentioned. In the old days, the scholars, when they talked about al-fiqh, going back to the time of the tabi'in, back to the time of the tabi'in, time of the tabi'in, now, then they will say fiqh had two levels, fiqh al-akbaru wal fiqh al-asqaru. Fiqh, naam, al-akbaru wal fiqh al-asqaru. The akbar, you know this from saying Allahu Akbar. So akbar, fiqh akbar. This is the major fiqh. And fiqh al-asqaru, the minor fiqh. So they would say al-fiqh al-akbar is the tawheed, issues of iman, issues of i'tiqad, issues of i'tiqad means belief, what should be tied to people's chests. We say al-aqidah. And some people say this is a bid'ah, say aqidah, because aqidah was not mentioned in the Quran, the Prophet did not mention aqidah. Well, Allah, he mentioned this in the Quran, the issue of aqidah. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Ma'idah, لا يؤاخذكم الله باللغو في أيمانكم. Laqwi is you playing, you're not serious. You're just joking around. Vain. So if you say, I swear, I'm never going to give you anything to drink anymore, but you don't mean you're playing. So I swear, I'm never going to share my food with you. I don't care if you starve, but you just play. That's called laqwi. Vanity. Joke. Allah said, لا يؤاخذكم الله باللغو في أيمانكم. أيمانكم يعني في ما حلفتم. That when you go to swear about something. So swearing and then playing while you're swearing. So playing while you're swearing is laqwi in this ayah. Aymanikum, that which you make a promise or oath you swear. Allah said, La yu'akhidhakum Allah. Allah won't take you to task. La yu'akhidhakum Allah. Allah will not ya'aqibakum, won't punish you. La yu'akhidhakum Allah. Allah will not hold it as a sin. When? La yu'akhidhakum Allah bil-laqwi. When you're playing. Bil-laqwi fi aymanikum. When you swear, but you're being vain. You're being vain, plain, vanity. When Allah said, Bima aqadtum. Bima aqadtum aqidah. Bima aqadtum aymanikum. That which you have in your chest. So if you're plain, you don't mean it, Allah is going to let you go. But now, if you're serious, if you swear to something, and it's not vanity because you're serious, and you break it, you don't do it, then Allah holds you accountable. Now you have to do kafara, expiation of the sin, and you have to make tawbah. So here, what's the point? When we talk about the issue of al-aqidah, what's tied into your chest, this is proven from the Quran. When you believe something, you believe it, and it's right or wrong, it's called an i'tiqad, a belief, aqidah, something tied from the word aqada, means to tie. Aqada, the root word of aqidah, i'tiqad, aqada. Like they say, oh, you tying a knot tonight, huh? Because you getting married, you're doing a marriage contract. And contract in Arabic is aqd. Aqd. So aqidah, that which is you have a contract of something you believe is tied to your heart. Iqad, many different aspects of that. So here, what's the point? When you talk about issue of fiqh, the early scholars used to call aqidah, tawheed, iman, fiqh akbar. That's the major fiqh. Then what we call today fiqh al-tahara, how to make purification, fiqh al-salat, how to make the salat, or fiqh al-tahara means what's an obligation with regards to tahara, what's mustahab, what's recommended, what's haram. Our fiqh salat means what salat is wajib, what is mustahab, what is nawafil, extra credit. That's what we call fiqh outright today. But the scholars all used to call it fiqh al-asgaru, the minor fiqh. Why? Because the main thing you gotta have is what? What's tied into your heart with regards to iman and belief and tawheed, like this. So this, when we talk about fiqh al-Islam, it's very important to understand. This is rooted in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This word fiqh, يَتَفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, Allah said. Now, يَتَفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, that some people stay behind when those people go out and fight. Everybody doesn't go out and fight. Some people stay behind. Allah said, يَتَفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, so they can study and learn the deen between themselves. So when those people who are fighting, either raj'u la'allahum then those people, when they come back, they can have a chance to still learn what's called fiqh of the religion. So all of this is rooted in the Quran, the issue of fiqh, rooted in the Sunnah of the Prophet, the issue of fiqh, Islamic jurisprudence, fiqh of Islamic, rooted in the deen of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So fiqh, in layman terms, how you understand the religion, what to do with the religion, how to look at this issue and that issue, how to solve the problem, how to know what level, if it's an obligation on you, obligation on some, is it highly emphasized but not an obligation, is it only recommended, is it something that is disliked, is it something haram? All of this is what's part of the issue of fiqh. What to do if there are many positions, what do you do if there's a discrepancy, etc. Now, is that clear?
Yes.
Thank you. So, as it relates to the issue we mentioned again when we talked about, there was some clarity mentioned and asked. So I'm going to go back and then I'm going to come forward with what I mentioned today and tie it all in. So as we talked about the issue number one of talking about people, or saying something that the person does not like. It said that the origin of that is wrong. And the Prophet called it riba. This is wrong. Say something about a person. Scholars said, as it relates to khulaqihi or khulaqihi. Khulaqihi yani khalqihi. So khalqihi yani is how he looks, his disposition. Khulaqihi is his character. So this says you're talking about a person's character or how he looks. That guy is tall, you see. Somebody left their hand. I said, oh, the fat guy. That fat guy that was just here, I just committed the act of riba. Because I'm talking about his, how Allah made him. He's fat. Or if I say, the guy left his book. We said, what guy? Oh, that real skinny guy? SubhanAllah. This is how you insult a person, by describing him or her in a way. So when you talk about somebody's character, person's character, then you say that person, he's not too truthful. You see, that lady, she's evil. That's called riba, because the Prophet ﷺ said, ذِكْرَ أَخَاكَ بِمَا يَكْرَهَهُ, to mention about your brother that which you would not like. That which you would not like is general. Doesn't make a difference if it's true or false. If it's about how they look, disposition, how they smell, if it's as it relates to how Allah made them or the things that they do. If you mention about them that which they would not like, in their absence, the Prophet called it riba. Riba, from being out of their presence. Laid, out of sight. Riba, out of sight. You're not in the person's presence. That's what the Prophet called it. So scholars said it doesn't make a difference if it's the person's khulqi or khalqi. Khulqi is character. It's upright, it's not upright. He's a thief, he's a liar, he's lazy, he's not trustworthy. That's his character. Khalqi, how Allah created him. Tall, fat, skinny, big nose, big stomach, knock-kneed, slew foot. Any of those you mentioned, he wouldn't like it, you ate that person's flesh. And also, it includes for the women too. You say that, oh, that bald head sister? Let's talk about that. How do you know she's bald head? She don't wear no chemo. She don't even cover. She out of it. Yeah, you just ate that lady's flesh. Hey, so that the Prophet mentioned. And they said, what if what we say is true? The Prophet said, then you have committed the act of riba. They said, then what if it's not true? And then the Prophet said, you slandered him. The Shaykh Uthaymeen said, even though you said something that's wrong and you slandered him, you still also committed riba. You have a double crime when it's not true. When it's true, you have one crime. What's the crime? That the brother won't like it if he was present, right?
Yes.
Now, you have a double crime if it's not true, because you slandered him, but you still said it behind his back. So it becomes two infractions, Shaykh Uthaymeen said. So if it's in his deen, this is a prayer on time, or the brother prays fast, anything you will say about him and his character, how his disposition, or his deen that he wouldn't like, is illegal. He's stingy, all of that. He's shiesty, Allah knows. So the exception to the rule, there's 6, we won't go with it, we don't have time, but they mentioned this in lines of poetry, al-ghiba, laysa fi sittatin. Backbiting is not a dambu fi ghiba, laysa a dambu fi ghibatin, laysa fi sittatin. The blame that you will get for backbiting will not be a blame in 6 cases. 6 cases. They mentioned the one who is being oppressed. You're being oppressed, and you're going to get your hop, then you're not going to be blameworthy for saying so and so. Because that person oppressed you, you want to know how to get what belongs to you. So you go and get help. It said, someone has to be known. Like when Fatima went to the Prophet and she said, Muawiyah engaged to me, asked to marry me and Abu Jahl. The Prophet didn't say, I think you should marry Usama. No, he said, marry inkihi Usama. Marry Usama. He said, Amma Muawiyah, as for Muawiyah, then that person is going to be stingy. It's going to pretend he doesn't have money. He's bakhil. Don't marry him. And as for Abu Jahl, then he beats his women. And another narration said one of the wordings that's used means yani safara tawila, like he's always going and never be there with you, which is part of marriage. It said Enkihi Usama, marry Usama. That if they heard that, those two companions, you think they were like that?
No.
They would smile. They would say Zakallah khair, Ya Rasulullah.
Not at all.
Allah. But this is the second thing, it's a mu'arif. You have to let somebody know a situation. Now, what if it's backbiting, but you said, well, you gotta let the people know something came to you. So the brother John is a thief. Or brother Khairi, he smokes crack. Now you don't know anything about this. Somebody is narrating this. The prophet was speaking from Revelation. And he lived with those people, he said what he knew. Not what people circulated. So, just because you heard something doesn't mean you can say, oh, well, they asked me, I had to tell them. Lie. You have to know if that thing is true. You have to know if that thing is true. The third thing, muhaddiri, muhaddiri min hadr. The one, you have to warn somebody against it. So muhaddiri, like a person who was making bid'ah, he said. Ulama to give examples of this. Like if Salam, he had to talk about the Khawarij. We brought the ayah before, it said, Hum al-Khawarij. They are the Khawarij. Right? That was muhaddir, had to warn you. He said, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُ الَّذِينَ يَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ فَاعْلَمْ قَدْ حَذَّرَكُمَ اللَّهُ فَإِذَا رَأَيْتُمُوهُمْ فَاعْرِفْهُمْ. He said, if you see people trying to explain what's not so clear, could have this meaning, that meaning, rather than something that's clear to everybody, he said, then know Allah has warned you of those people. And when you see them, make sure that you acknowledge them, warn the people. That's an example of the third thing when you can say something about somebody, muhaddiri. You have to warn people that have bid'ah, they have dalalat, deviation, they have shahwa, desires that they try to spread to people. You also have the fourth thing, that person, the scholar said you can say something out of necessity. Is that person who is mujahid bil fisq. He's broadcasting his own sins. Broadcasting his own sins. So somebody's drinking, public sin. Or the brother, he's hustling. May Allah make it easy. I mean, Muslims hustle. Drugs. They have no shame on the block flocking. And that brother, sister wants to marry him. She's known to be a bride. He said, no, I can't marry that brother. That brother, he's selling drugs on the corner. He's out there in the streets. But how can you say that? He himself is broadcasting his own sin. You didn't broadcast it, he did.
Yeah.
So when a person broadcasts sin, for you to say that about him and he wouldn't like it or she wouldn't like it, it's not considered the normal backbiting because that person broadcast their own sin. The sisters don't cover. Well, on each is G'd up, mashallah. Tight jilbab, hip showing, Allah, mashallah. Brothers come to the Eid looking for a wife. Say, man, who is that? Woo! SubhanAllah. And I keep lower your gaze and don't even think about it. 'Cause that one there, she ain't straight. What do you mean she ain't straight? Like a chick fully covered. What is she holding? But Eid, khalas, you're going back to, when she covered, it's not covered. She wearing tights, short shirts, sometimes skirts, but the skirt's not many, but it's down to her knees, and Mickey Mouse shirt, and hair to the back with a scrunchie. I mean, you can't help it. You see it, she give you salams. Give her salams back. How's your father? He's doing fine. Alhamdulillah. But she's exposing her own sins. You're not held accountable for saying that because she broadcast it like a billboard. One more step to it. One more step to it. The fifth one, the person's going to get the towel. The scholars, this is what they said when they give examples. Said, Abi Dalamani, Sojati, Barabtani, Akhi, Fa'ala, Kadali. What should I do? How can I, how do I solve this problem? So they said, the one goal said, my father, he harmed me. My father, he wronged me. My father, he violated me. What? Because that's your parent. So you go get a, fatwa. How do I deal with this? My husband, he beat me. It's your husband. So you want to know how do I deal with this? Say, my brother, my own blood brother, he did this to me. How do I, because you don't know what to do, how to deal with these are like complex situations. That's mustafti. So one's giving the fatwa, telling you how to handle that situation. Then they said, وَمَنْ طَلَبَ إِعَانَةَ فِي إِزَالِ الْمُنْكَرِ, and the one who seeks some help to have an evil stopped. The one that seeks some help to have an evil stopped. So, it is the evil. That person needs some help in having that evil stop. And they could come and say, X, Y, and Z. This person's breaking in my house. I'm scared. I don't want to stay there. What's his name? His name is Robert. They call him Abdul Aziz. They live around the corner on the third floor. Dark-skinned guy, about 5'20", drives a white BMW. They're afraid. So they can say that to get somebody to help them and remove that evil. So these are the 6 exceptions to the rule. And the ulama, like Shaikh Muhammad Salih or Thaymin mentioned, that these issues or the exceptions to the rule, and although it was permissible to mention the name of those people, we said it's better to mention general, because when you mention general, then people understand that it's something that they should avoid, because you talk in general. So it's like everybody stay away from these things when we talk general. But if you mention somebody's name, people tend to look at the name you mentioned and not applying to, well, that could happen, that could apply to me too. It says so. For that reason, because the bigger picture is achieved, people get the idea, wow, that could be me, wow, I need to watch out for that, wow, I need to make sure, then it's always better not to mention the name, not to deal with the personality. But if you have to mention the name, the Shaykh will say, meaning he said there's no other way to stop that evil, then you must mention the name. And this is what all of the scholars say about this. Now, so this we mentioned last time, and then we said the issue as it relates to the 5 daily prayer. But there was an issue, very problematic, made a lot of fitna in the particular community. And we said that, yes, if you take the hadith where the Prophet talked about those people who don't come to pray the Salah in Jama'ah, and that hadith he was talking about in the masjid, because he said that. And he first quoted the ayah about the munafiqeen. أثقل الصلاة على المنافقين العشاء والصبح. The most heaviest salah. Heavy here means difficult. On the hypocrites is the night prayer, Isha, and the morning prayer. Because nighttime, you cozy, you ate, you're tired. As they say, the eye is set in. You don't want to come out. Morning, it's cold, snug, and then on top of that, it's dark. If I don't come out, who's going to see me anyway? I can fake it, but in the Dhuhr and Asr, I can't. People are going to look over and see me. No street lights, no candles, no flashlights. I'm not going to hell with that. That's a person who has nafaqah in his chest. So the Prophet ﷺ after he quoted that statement about the munafiqeen. I sent her before. Inshallah, we're going to stop. I didn't know it was that late. But the last point, because I'm hitting this, but this thing has stopped a long time ago. The point is that Prophet Sallallahu mentioned that, and many scholars, they said, yes. But also they said that if the Prophet was saying that it was an obligation, then he wouldn't have said, Amamtu an uqama wa amra rajulan an nusalli bin nas. I would have called the adhan and iqama, command somebody to lead the people in prayer. Then I would have went out with some other people, gathered some wood, and burned down the houses of those people who didn't come out and pray. So the prophet is going to leave, go somewhere, but not pray, shows you it can't be for an ayn. Some scholars said that. If it was an obligation to pray in Jama'ah, how can the Prophet call the adhan and the Prophet say, okay, Osama, you lead the salah. Come on, y'all, get that wood. We're going to burn down their cribs. Then the Prophet is breaking the obligation on every person who is male, puberty, to pray in the masjid. You get it? Yeah. He's breaking that. So that will make a person think, oh, it's emphasized to the point that he would make that parable, but guess what? It's not found angry, because if so, he couldn't do that and go and burn down the house and not pray. He would have to pray first, then go burn down those people. But that's not what he said. He said, I would, if it wasn't for the women and children, call the adhan and iqama, command somebody to salah, then I would go with other people with wood and burn. So you see, he's missing what? If he did that, what would he be missing? He'd be missing salat and jama'ah. So this is one angle the scholars say that although he threatened, although the parable and the term is very harsh, it's also a hadith to show that the salat is not for ayn on everyone, because he himself said if it wasn't for the women and the children. He didn't say if it wasn't for Allah punishing me because I got to pray in Jama'ah too. He said, وَلَوْلَا مِنَ النِّسَاءِ وَالصِّبْيَانِ. If it was not for the women and children, I thought to myself to do this action. Yeah. So that, patient after want to pray, it's permissible to delay salat a little bit for this. I want to finish this point. So that's a strong principle and a strong point from that same hadith that people use to say, no, you have to pray in the masjid. Strong proof against if you have to pray in the masjid. Now, do we say we disencourage people? No, because even those people that said that salat jama'ah in the masjid is, number one, they said sunnah mu'akkidah. All of the scholars said that except the Hanbali scholars. They still encourage you. They still said it's better. Why? Why it's not better? Because it's from the characteristics of the believer to pray with what? The believers. So you can never disencourage that. That's an action of the hypocrites. It's a characteristic of those who have ma'asi in their heart. Yeah. So that we mentioned before, and that all of the scholars, except the small minority, the Hanbali, said that the salat in Jama'ah, in the masjid, either is sunnah mu'akkidah, very much stress. Just like Tarawih, very much stress to the point people don't miss it. But nobody can say Tarawih is farad ayn or farad kifayah. Some people have to do it. If they do it, the sin is off the others. That's what's farad kifayah. A group do it. people out to do it. Nobody says that about Tarawih. But we emphasize it, don't we? Don't we emphasize Tarawih? Yes? Yeah.
Definitely.
To the point the Prophet said, من قام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Whoever prays the night prayer, the Tarawih in Ramadan, believing in it and seeking the reward from Allah, all the sins will be forgiven. If that's not an emphasis, what is? But you don't find any scholar على وجه الأرض في هذه الدنيا على أن صلاة التراويح فرض عين ولا فرض كفاية. None of them saying that a group must do it or it's on the individual. But it's emphasized. So some of them said the same thing about Salat al-Jama'ah in the Masjid. It's highly emphasized. But does that mean, okay, that means you don't have to come? No, come. You're encouraged to come. Now, but it being federal aim on each individual that's at the age of puberty is another issue. Some say federal kifaya. If some do it, the sin is off the rest. And then some say federal aim, they are the minority, the Hanbalis. And then some went a step further, like Shaikh Islamic and Abi Dawood al-Dhahri, this last point will stop. They said not only you have to pray at the federal aim, they said, it's a condition for your salah to even be accepted. So if I don't pray in the masjid at all, but I pray outside the masjid, my salah is batil. That's the position of Shaykh Islamic. But just look at that. How that would be if that was sahih. So this is what's called fiqh Islamic. This is what's called Islamic jurisprudence. And lastly, the scholars, they say, لا يحكم إذا تعارض بين النصين إذا أمكن جمعا. If there's a way you can look at this hadith and that hadith, they seem some contradictory, but you can find a way to apply this and apply that, work with this at times, or how that could be understood and misunderstood. They said that it is not permissible to make any judgment against it when you can work by them both. And both of these hadith, you can work by them that which they use to say that salat is farq in the masjid, and that which they said and they use to say it's not farq, while all of it is to be emphasized, praying in the masjid, whether it's farq, whether it's kifaya, for group, individuals, sunnah mu'akkida, all of it is to be emphasized. This is the Islamic jurisprudence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's help out of something like Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. Wassalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. Somebody can stop that for me. Hey, say return voice of all.
Okay.